Hey everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel called Living in Hayward, Wisconsin, where we talk about all things real estate related and also just about living in Hayward. You know, I got a really good response and a lot of people commenting on my Best of Hayward video that I did maybe a month or so ago. So I thought I would put out a Best of Hayward Part 2 and cover some other categories that some of the viewers had mentioned and also adding some new ones on. So follow along for that video. So hey, I'm Audrey Miller. I am your real estate expert from Hayward, Wisconsin. I cover an area about 45 minutes in any direction from Hayward. And if you like my channel and like what you're seeing and learning here, feel free to subscribe, like, share, or comment below if you have any comments, or feel free to reach out directly if you're interested in buying or selling a property. So Best of Hayward Part 2. There was a person who had commented on the first video and said that I didn't mention burgers or pizza, as in great places to get burgers or pizza around the Hayward area. And I think the reason that I didn't do those two is because I'm not a big pizza or burger person. So it's not something that I thought of, since that's typically the two things that I don't order when I'm at a restaurant. But I did some asking around and kind of racked my brain for times I have had good burgers around the area and pizza. And I've got a couple of recommendations for you on both of those things, plus a whole bunch of other Best of Hayward categories. So I'll be interested to hear your comments on this particular video as well. So as far as burgers, I am going to recommend Eddie's on 3rd, and that is right in Hayward, just a couple of blocks off of Main Street. It's a relatively new restaurant. A local guy by the name of Ed has started that restaurant, and he primarily does burgers and sandwiches, and I've heard awesome reviews. I have yet to get there myself, but I've heard it from enough of people locally that I believe there are very good burgers at Eddie's on 3rd. And then the honorable mention will go to Somewhere Else Bar and Grill, which is on Highway 27 South, not too far out of Hayward. They also have a really great menu featuring super tasty burgers, so maybe that's one to check out that you may not have thought of. They also have like a fun little cornhole toss thing out front by the highway, and you can do that while you wait for your food. They do live music there as well, and open jam sessions during the week too, so it's kind of a fun little place that you may or may not be aware of. Not far from Hayward at all. And then for pizza, my first recommendation for Best of Hayward for pizza would go to the Outback Bar. The Outback Bar is the only bar restaurant west of Hayward between Hayward and Minot. It's actually for sale right now, so if you want to buy a restaurant or bar, this is July of 2024, so at the moment it's for sale, but they make an amazing pizza. It's almost bordering on deep dish pizza because they pile so many toppings on it, but it is just a regular pizza, but you can get tons of toppings. They do cheese that's like, I feel like it's an inch thick on their pizza, so that's a really great pizza place. And then the honorable mention would be for Ray J's. Ray J's is located about 20 minutes east of Hayward off of Highway B near the Chippewa Flowage. They happen to be close to my house, so I get their pizza now and then. And I've tried lots of pizzas around the area, and I think Ray J's does a really good job with their pizzas as well. And of course, there's always Coop's in town, which has been in the area forever, and they do great pizza as well, but they're the only ones that are left in town. We used to have Pizza Hut, and then we had Frankie's Pizza that has come and gone in the last few years. But so that covers the burgers and pizza. And then the other thing that somebody had recommended that I address in my Best of Hayward videos is supper clubs. And I love a good supper club, so I'm sorry I missed that in the first video. But I would recommend for supper clubs, the Ranch. And if you've never been to a supper club in northern Wisconsin, you should go just for the experience. It's kind of different. There's certain things they always do: bread and like a relish tray, maybe with cheeses or pickled herring or, you know, veggies. They'll do some sort of a relish tray, which is very unique to the supper clubs. And then they usually have kind of your typical dinner foods like steak or salmon, you know, pasta dishes, that kind of thing. So the Ranch Supper Club is just a minute or two from Hayward if you head out 77 East past Walmart. Really great atmosphere, really great food, very nice bar area, good service. I've been there many times over the years. It's kind of a special occasion place for me, but I think their steaks are really amazing there, and it's a great supper club atmosphere. And then the honorable mention for supper clubs, I would say Tally Ho. Tally Ho is a little bit more out of the way, but worth the drive. It is out on 77 East of Hayward, about 20 minutes, I would say. And that has more of the feel of like the really old supper club. It's not super updated inside, but really great service. The owners are super friendly. And And again, you'll have the supper club experience when you go to Tally Ho. And now I'm going to talk about a few things kid related. I didn't cover anything kid related in my last video. To be honest, my kids are now basically grown. 2 are out of the house and 1 is about to be a junior in high school. So I'm kind of past that point of having little kids, but I have lived here my entire life while I was raising kids. So I do have a lot of experience with kid activities, just not as much on my radar these days as I'm kind of moving on to a different stage of life. But I know there are many, many families who come on vacation in the Hayward area and might want to hear about some kid-friendly restaurants and activities. So first of all, the kid-friendly restaurants that I want to name, and there's a lot of them actually. You would want to look for something that maybe has a playground, has outdoor seating so your kids can run and then come and eat when the food comes out. I know how kids can be with sitting at restaurants waiting for food. So the kid-friendly restaurants, I wanted to mention Coop's Pizza because they have an arcade room. They have just a huge building there. And so there's some things for the kids to do while they're waiting. And then the other one I wanted to mention is Trails End, and that's on Lacudaray Lake because they have sand volleyball, a beach, playground set, all outside just off of the deck where you can eat outdoors. So if you sit outside, your kids, age appropriately of course, could be down on the beach area or at the playground, or maybe if you're there with friends, they can go play a quick game of volleyball while you wait for your food. So that would be the second one that I would say is a kid-friendly place. I actually could think of quite a few others, but I'm trying to keep this to 2 or maybe 3 recommendations. I guess I'll put out one more, and this is a little bit out of the way, but if you're out on the Chippewa flowage, Chippewa Pines also has a really nice outdoor area and a playground, but not as much seating outside. So you'd almost have to sit around in chairs with your food, and then the kids could be playing at the playground. A little bit different setting, but also kid-friendly, and there's lots of kids that stay at the resort there. So there's often kids around there playing and hanging out, and they have a beach as well. And then kid-friendly activities around Hayward, I have to go with Wilderness Walk as the #1 activity. Anybody who has been to Hayward anytime has probably heard of or been to Wilderness Walk. I know there's lots of people now that have been there as a child themselves and now have brought their children, sometimes almost 3 generations, because Wilderness Walk has been around for over 50 years. And it's a little park zoo. You kind of walk through at your own pace. They have a lot of interesting animals there, and then they've got their Western town at the end, picnic tables, they have a cafe. It's a really cool experience. I know as a kid growing up here, I absolutely loved going to Wilderness Walk. That was a very special occasion. So that would be #1 for kid-friendly activities. Of course, there is the go-kart track, mini golf, batting cage place right by Subway in Hayward. I think everyone knows about that because you practically have to drive past it anytime you come through Hayward. And then I would also mention Main Street because you've got the candy store, different shops. I know kids aren't as much into shopping, but there's places to eat, and the candy store and ice cream, which every kid loves sweets. And then one other honorable mention is the Frisbee Golf place. That's out on Highway 63 south towards Spooner, and it's called Fiddler's Creek. And they have Frisbee golf there and a driving range, and I think they actually have a little mini golf as well. But that may be something, if the kids are just a little bit older, that they would enjoy. And this is not to mention the many activities that everybody knows about that are kid-friendly in the Northwoods. The swimming, the fishing, the boating, the water tubing, water skiing, all of that stuff. But these are a couple that are away from the lake and maybe kid-friendly activities that you hadn't thought of, or maybe you've gone there before and you'd like to go again. All right, and now we're going to talk about best hiking in the area. We have lots and lots of hiking trails around the area for all different skill levels. Some are longer, shorter, steeper, more gradual, all of that. So hiking trails that I would recommend. One is the Hatchery Creek Trail. That's just out of Hayward on Highway 77 East, just a couple of miles past Walmart. They've got a whole trail system there, and a lot of these trail systems actually double as cross-country skiing trails as well. But in the summertime, obviously nobody can cross-country ski, so they're used as hiking trails. So that's a really nice trail system. The second one I would mention is the Makwanago, and that's also a ski trail that is a hiking trail in the summertime. That's a little further out 77, and probably not a very busy trail because it's a little bit, I'll say, in the middle of nowhere. So that's one that you could check out too. There's several little lakes back in there also. I don't know if the trail goes directly to them, but it's just a quiet place to take a hike. Really nice trail system there as well. I could mention several others, but again, I'm trying to keep this to just the top recommendations since I'm doing Best of Hayward. The other hike that I would recommend, and this is a little bit of a drive, but this could be a day trip just to the north, St. Peter's Dome. It's kind of south of Ashland a bit. So maybe from Hayward, you would be driving about an hour to get to St. Peter's Dome, maybe an hour and 15 minutes. And that has a waterfall and then a really cool hike to this plateau area. And you can see way out over a wide expanse looking from the north to the south, like down towards the Hayward area or Cable area. That is especially spectacular in the fall. So St. Peter's Domes would be an honorary mention in terms of hiking. And then let's talk about best scenic drives. One of the things that I love to do when I get a chance is to go on back roads, take my camera with me. There's so many cool spots along back roads. There's so many little lakes around our area that you never even hear of. There's a map called the Gazetteer you may or may not have heard of. It is a very, very magnified version of an atlas, but it's just for Wisconsin. So there's a page for every area, and it shows all the little back roads, all the little lakes, the things that you wouldn't see on other maps. It's called the Gazetteer. You can buy it at a lot of local places. And I take that with me, and I just like drive through the back roads. So I've been on lots of back roads in the area. Of course, I love the gravel roads. You feel like you're just in the middle of nowhere. You can get to them pretty quickly around our area. So I'm going to recommend the Birchwood Fire Lane. If you go on Highway B, just past Stone Lake, you would turn on Highway B and head towards the east. And the Birchwood Fire Lane goes off of there, and then it ends up coming out down around the Spider Lake Saloon by Birchwood area. That is a super cool back road. There is a lot of public county land along that road, so you could get out and hike on old logging trails. And there's a ton of hidden little lakes along that road as well, if you don't mind doing a little bit of walking. So you could just, grab a picnic basket and your hiking shoes and go find a little lake and sit by there, and chances are there will be nobody else there. And then I will also recommend the fire roads out by the Chequamegon Forest. So this would be Highway 77 East. If you just turn on those fire roads, you get about 20 minutes out Highway 77. There is a huge labyrinth of fire roads in the Chequamegon Forest, and it is so peaceful and pretty, and you just feel like you're 100 miles from anything. So that would be the other scenic drive that I would recommend. Again, I can think of more, but you can tell I'm having a hard time limiting it to two recommendations. But I'll just quickly mention going out by Moose Lake and around Lost Land Lake are also a couple of really scenic, winding, curving roads if you want to take a Sunday drive or an evening drive sometime. All right, and then moving on to best campgrounds in the area. I know lots of people like to come up here and do camping in the summertime. We have a ton of campgrounds in our area. Some of them are more like full service where they've got activities for kids, and those are going to be a little bit more crowded. The three that I'll mention along those lines, but they're all very nice campgrounds. You have the KOA just north of Hayward. You have Treelands Campground, which is out by the Chippewa Flowage off of Highway B. Beautiful new campground with a swimming pool, a playground, a little cafe restaurant there. And then the Lake Chippewa Campground, which is close to the landing on the Chippewa Flowage. That campground has been there for many years and is a beautiful campground with sites right on the water or back off the water just a little bit. A lot of these places also have seasonal sites, but a lot of those are full and you have to wait till one opens up, but they also do week or weekend type camping as well. And then a couple of quieter campgrounds. One is off of the Birchwood Fire Lane that I just referenced a little bit ago. It's more of a primitive campground. I think it's called the Spider Lake Campground. You would hardly even know it's there because the entrance is very inconspicuous, but that's a cool, more primitive campground. And then also there's one along Highway 70 by Ojibwa that is just tucked up in on a little hill there. That's a very nice, quieter campground with bigger campsites. And this is only mentioning a few. There are a ton of campgrounds in the area. I'm sure everybody has their favorites, but these are some that I would recommend. And then along those lines, I'll also talk about resorts. Best resorts in the Hayward area, again, very subject to opinion, as is everything within this video. I would recommend for resorts, Deerfoot on the Chippewa Flowage. It just has lots of cabins. They're in great condition. You've got access to the flowage. Usually you get a dock on the flowage with your cabin rental. They've got a great bar restaurant there. They do live music. The grounds are really pretty. There's great sunset views from there. So that's one I would recommend. And then the second one I would recommend for a resort is Angler's Haven on Lac-Courte. This resort, again, has been there forever. It is a staple of the Northwoods. There's new owners the last 6 or 8 years, maybe, a really great younger couple. And they've got cabins for rent there. And again, you're right on the water. You've got the bar restaurant there. Great location in proximity to Hayward. So that's Angler's Haven Resort on Lac-Courte. And then best beaches. So everybody knows about the Hayward Beach, the city beach that is just out on Highway B, basically right in town on Lake Hayward. That one is not one of the ones that I was going to mention, although that's a perfectly fine beach and has a nice park there. The two that I'm going to mention are the Beaver Lake Beach, and that is on Beaver Lake, and it's about a 15-minute drive from Hayward. You have to take Rainbow Road and then take a dirt road off of that to get to Beaver Lake Beach, but they've got playground equipment, really nice swimming, sandy bottom, and it's maybe not quite as crowded as the Hayward Beach. And then the other one is the Durfee Lake Beach, and I don't know how many people know about this one, but it's near I don't even know how to tell you. You might have to Google Durfee Lake Beach or just go looking for it. You turn off of Highway K onto Double K, and then from there, I can't remember remember which road you have to take to get to it, but that points you in the general direction. There's also tons of beaches at the resorts. You know, if you go to some of these resorts and you drive there or you go by boat, they have beaches where the kids can play if you're a patron of that bar or restaurant. And then my last category for my part 2 Best of Hayward is hidden gems of the Hayward area. And I actually had to think a while on this one because I don't, you know how they say the locals don't want to share like their best secrets? That's kind of how I feel about these two things, but I'm going to share them anyway in the interest of a public service here. So Lake Helene Natural Area is my number 1 hidden gem. It is able to be found online, but I lived here for 30 some years and never knew it existed. And once I stumbled across it, I've been back there numerous times. So the bicycle trail runs through there, but this lake is owned by the DNR, and I actually ran into the lady whose family used to own the lake, and they gifted it to the DNR and kept their own house on the property, but it has now become a natural preserve area. The lake is beautiful. There's no houses that you can see on it, just the one that's set back in. It's great for swimming, fishing, kayaking, canoeing, super peaceful setting with good road access. And to get to that, you would have to go off of 00 and then go on, I think, Clear Lake Road and then Lake Helene Road. But if you Google it, you'll be able to find it. But beautiful, beautiful area. My daughter and I went there. We took our inner tubes last year on a beautiful summer day, and we just went out and sat in the lake, and it's just quiet and peaceful and beautiful. So that's the one. And then my second one is a little bit different and maybe a little more well-known, but this is a hidden gem in terms of like a bar or restaurant. Woodhaven Resort is on Callahan Lake. That's east of Hayward on B, about 20 minutes. And it is the cutest, quintessential rustic Hayward area resort bar at Woodhaven. There's probably only like 6 bar stools, but there's a fireplace in there. The owners work the bar themselves. It's just usually one person working. And I think that's a hidden gem of the Hayward area. And again, that's something I only discovered a year or 2 ago. So I hope you really enjoy these recommendations. If you're visiting the Hayward area, if you already live here, and these are some places you maybe haven't heard of, I hope that you enjoy. Again, I'm Audrey Miller. I'm your real estate expert from Hayward, Wisconsin, and thank you for joining me today. As always, feel free to subscribe, like, or share my channel called Living in Hayward, Wisconsin.